just want to take this time to welcome all the creatives out there. As you can see from the title, this is called the Indie Help Artist Series, or the Help Indie Artist Series. I haven't really decided which one. Holy Spirit will tell me, but this is for all the creatives. If you're a music artist, an independent music artist, a producer, a mixer, a masterer, anything dealing with music. And honestly, if you're an indie artist creative, maybe you might be a graphic designer, anything like that, this is where you just may want to be. So welcome, and I can't wait to get into all the nitty-gritty of things that I know, things that I just really feel led to share, that I know can really help you and I both on this journey of just creating. And by the way, just to be clear, if you don't know, basically an independent artist is somebody who is pretty much doing their creative journey with no backing from a big label. If you're a music artist, with no big company backing. So basically everything that you do pretty much comes originally from who you are and where you are, or you don't really have the big machines that are pushing your product, but you're pushing your product, you're funding your own journey and different things like that. So independent creative, independent artist means just that. You are independent, and you are basically your biggest resource. Or as a believer, I like to say that God, it's a given that God is our biggest resource. For this first installment of this series, I really wanted to just focus on some really basic fundamentals. And honestly, we're going to start off really fun. As you can see from the title of this video, this installment is going to focus around two things, short and sweet. Number one, it's going to be around 4 different income streams that you can earn as an independent artist / creative today. And then I really want to focus on kind of how you get there. So first things first, if you want to understand and come into multiple streams of income as an indie artist, the first thing, the number one most important thing that you need to do is you need to break the poverty spirit off of you. You need to break it off of you, okay? So if you've never heard of the poverty spirit, I'm just going to give you a really quick definition. Basically, the poverty spirit is a mindset of lack. So think abundance and think the extreme opposite of abundance. So an example is you've always felt like you've never had enough money to do what you want. You feel like there's not enough money for everybody in this, for all of us. You feel like it goes to one person, or it goes to this company, or it goes to this corporation, and you just feel like you've never had enough, or you work really hard for money constantly over and over again, and yet you come home at the end of the day and you feel like you still don't have enough. Or it can go into the mindset of feeling like you're the person who's never going to get that job. It can go into the mindset of something that I literally had to catch myself, which is, so we know that there's 5 months left in this year. There's 5 months. 5 months is more than enough time for the Lord to do whatever he wants to do in your life, something that you hope for, pray for, something you want to see come to pass. 5 months is more than enough time for the Lord to do that in these last months of the year. So poverty spirit is saying that, well, I guess this is we're not gonna go there, but basically that's you believing in opposite and already, putting a time limit on the Lord. And poverty spirit is more of a biblical term, but I felt the need to say it first because last night at work I had a conversation with somebody they aren't a believer, but the word poverty spirit had came out of my mouth and they didn't know what it was, and they were very curious about what it was. So basically know that the poverty spirit is basically having a mindset of lack, the mindset of continuing to put yourself in this box, right? You're putting yourself in this box. So you're thinking, you're kind of thinking low of yourself, right? So that's kind of the poverty spirit. And one of the ways to break out of the poverty spirit is to, number one, and this is a faith-based thing, so number one, you have to be able to recognize it. And non-believers, you can do this too, but you have to be able to number one, recognize it. These are practical steps, right? So you have to be able to recognize it. Number one, recognize where you limit yourself at. Recognize where you were always feeling like you weren't enough, right? John 10:10 says that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus comes to give us life and give us life abundantly. And the key word here is, and to me, the key word would be abundant. So if you know the character of God, you know that abundance, you know that God cares about abundance in every area of his life. There's a scripture where it said, I think it's Deuteronomy, I could be wrong, but or I think it's Ephesians, but there's a scripture where it says that the Lord makes all things work together for the purpose of his will. He didn't say some things, he didn't say sometimes things, but he says he makes all things work together. All things work together. All things work together for the purpose of his will. So the number one thing to breaking off poverty spirit is identifying where you have it, asking the Lord to show that to you and allowing him to break that off of you. These are all things that I've gone through. These are all things that the Lord is literally leading me to share while he continues to break the layers of these things off of me. And I do want to say, before we get into like the income part, which is probably what most people probably came for, is I do want to say that the poverty spirit can be a generational thing. It's a big tactic of the enemy, and it can be a generational thing. So if you know that your family comes from the projects and they never had much, or they had to always be on survival for things to get like what they needed, I'm not really leaning into the Lord because you just grew up around always needing to survive. You grow up around those same things, or you're growing up with relatives and parents who come from that mindset. So therefore they teach you how to survive, and they teach you how to get what you need or get what you want. Which again, it completely excludes the mind of the will of God. Not always on purpose, but just sometimes that's just all our bloodlines know. So if you're being raised with the same mindset, it then becomes a generational thing. So just be aware that poverty spirit can be a generational, and that's where you begin to reclaim and take your authority, take your life, and say, I will be the first one in my family line to do this, I'll be the first billionaire, I'll be the first whatever, and exert your name in that. So here's to breaking the poverty spirit. This is just a quick list. This is going to be a quick 4 things that you can begin to invest in as an indie artist, as an indie creative, to start generating and garnering multiple incomes for yourself. There are many more things that you can go off of, but for time's sake, for me, I just wrote down a quick list of 4 things. And if you guys want like a part 2 on different forms of income that you can have as an independent artist, we can definitely always do that. So the number one thing on my list as one form of income as an indie artist is sync licensing. Yes, basically sync licensing is syncing any form of visual media to sound. So you have video games, that's one form. You have movies, you have commercials, you have companies who they need background music for their scenes, their movie scenes. You can go the independent route where you have indie filmmakers. They are walking the same path as you, and they need music, for what they're doing for their personal projects. And don't sleep, because these indie filmmakers, they'll submit to huge film festivals and get picked. I've actually come across some amazing filmmakers, at this point in my life, indie filmmakers who they have went far and they've submitted their stuff to huge film festivals and have got rewarded highly. So it's all about collaboration and networking, and I will talk about that in future videos. But one resource of sync licensing, if you aren't trying to go the video game route and stuff like that, is you can do what I'm currently doing right now. It's called Pond5. I'll put that somewhere on the screen. It's called Pond5, and basically Pond5 is what you call a royalty-free music library. And I'm gonna go into royalty-free in depth in a different video, but royalty-free music is basically when you allow somebody to license your stuff and they pay a one-time fee. So basically, when you are in the business of royalty-free music, royalty-free sound, probably royalty-free anything, but I would fact check that. But I know specifically for sure, like royalty-free music, you only charge the person one time, so you don't get any back end royalties. And a lot of times it's just like a upfront pay. So let's just say you're on Pond5 and you have about 25 songs up there, which honestly, I recommend you having as many as possible. And I would say hone in on the genre that you're really good at. That'll probably be like the majority of your discography and your catalog, but try and do a variety. But let's say you're on Pond5 and you're licensing a song for $25, right? Most platforms like Pond5 and FIVERR, which I'm talking about that next, you'll set your own price, and then they'll take their cut. They'll take their cut of that price, and you'll have what's left from whatever they take. So if you charge $10 and Pond5 takes 20% of that, you're left with $8. Mind you, if you're doing like direct deposit or something like that, you transfer that over, they'll transfer that over for you, but they're going to take at least $1 from that. So then technically you're left with $7. So I'm not trying to get complicated. I just want to give you the streams. So Pond5, if you like to make music that can be licensed to different visual media of all forms, you might want to consider doing your research on Pond5 and just having it as like some kind of side hustle, some kind of form of income that you can use to regenerate back into your creative projects or creative endeavors. Number 2 on the list as a form of income that you can do as an independent artist or indie creative is FIVERR. FIVERR is a platform where you can pretty much just do freelance gigs, and it's for every single kind of creative. So yes, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if it's music. It doesn't matter if it's graphic design. FIVERR is for every single kind of creative. So whatever you want to do, you can find it on FIVERR. I guarantee you that. I know as a buyer, I've got my lyric video for Soon Enough done on FIVERR. That's with me and JT. It's out on all platforms now, so please go check it out. But with FIVERR, anybody can do it. Producers can get up there, mixers, masters can get up there, and so forth. So yes, the beautiful thing I want to say about having a FIVERR account, it kind of serves as like a stall as you make things like your website. So for example, let's just say as an independent creative, you ought to have your own website, right? Most people think that just having Instagram or just having social media platforms like Twitter and you have Discord, that they're coming up for sure, but people think that having those platforms is enough. And reality is, in this modern day time, it seems like enough, but like you'll really stand out if you can have your website, especially if you want to go bigger and be with different companies, different stuff like that. I just think that a website is one of those things that sets you apart. So if you know about being set apart, then maybe you want to consider having your own website. Honestly, I know that there are like a lot of creatives that can kind of get by without having one, but it doesn't hurt to just have like your own little website where you can have like your own setup, your own shop, and you can do things that way. I say if you are interested in having your own website, whatever you offer as services, FIVERR is a good way to garner business while you take your time and properly set that up. because Fiverr, they're going to handle all that front end stuff. So for example, I've sold about and it's crazy because my Fiverr journey is completely supernatural, so I'll probably go into that in a different video. But for example, when you offer a service on Fiverr and that service goes through, they make the person pay upfront, so that's a good thing. The person who's paying for your service, they'll pay upfront. That's number one. And then so the money is guaranteed as long as you can deliver. Obviously, you have a certain time limit to be able to deliver your service and your product, but they pretty much handle all that business, all that back and front end business for you. Your job is just to literally go in on the platform, communicate with your client and all that they need, and to do your job and to get it done within a time span that you set for that particular gig or service. So Fiverr is definitely, and there are people who, believe it or not, they're able to quit their full-time jobs and make a full-time living off of Fiverr. You can Google search a lot of success stories of people who have been able to go full-time on Fiverr and make a complete success. But keep in mind that just like with anything in music, anything within the creative field, things do take time to build up. As you know, being an indie creative or indie artist, it requires a lot of patience, as with anything else in life. So keep in mind that you can do that. Some people may just be comfortable with just having Fiverr as just that. Some people don't ever want to handle the business side. But all I'm saying is that Fiverr is a side hustle that you can do to garner income for yourself as a creative and do that way. A third form of income that you can create for yourself as an independent artist, as an indie creative, but more so for the music artist for this one, is releasing songs. And of course, everyone is like, duh. But the reality is that when it comes to releasing songs, you gotta love it, because every platform has a rate in which you can earn per stream. So Spotify may be 0.000357. Like, though, as you can hear, those are fractions of pennies. So if you want to release songs, you just gotta love it. But what I found, like, my mindset with releasing songs now is that releasing songs is kind of like stocks. It takes time to build up, but I guarantee you, if you can release enough songs and you can garner enough streams per your whole discography, you will begin to see a certain amount of money value come together and rise up over time. So releasing songs over time, as an indie artist, is a way to build up a form of income for yourself. And of course, if you want all your royalties, you need to be able to be signed up for your Performing Rights Society, which is BMI, ASCAP, and then like that really exclusive one, CSAG. And then you have platforms like Sound Exchange that'll collect those interactive royalties for you. We'll talk about that in a different video, or you can research it, but it is a form of income over time. It's just back to that fruit of the spirit of having patience. So a fourth way that you can garner a form of income for yourself as an independent artist or creative is that you can offer technical services. So basically, if you're somebody who likes to mix and master songs, if you're somebody who likes to outsource and have your studio space be somewhere where other artists can record their stuff, then you can use that to your advantage, and you can charge people to do that. If you are an artist who likes creating artwork for other artists' singles and projects, then you can garner that and use that to your advantage. If you are a graphic artist that loves music, you can have your own services, just creating graphics for the songs that people do, the tours that people do, the events that people do. That would be your alley. And again, you can do those services on platforms like Fiverr. Like, they have Upwork too, but you can do it on platforms like Fiverr as well as outside. But point is, you can offer those technical services and those creative services to your advantage. So with that being said, that was just 4 of many ways of multiple streams of income that you can begin to garner for yourself as an indie artist and as an independent creative. By all means, again, a lot of these things take patience, they take time. That's why it's important to really do love what you do in the creative field. And then number two, just to recap, just knowing that before you can go into garnering wealth in general, like wealth in life in general, let alone garnering wealth for yourself as an independent artist or creative, the first thing to do is just break off that poverty spirit. Just knowing that it's possible for you, that it can and that it will happen. And then especially if you're a believer, remembering the promises that the Lord has placed over your life, that lack is not your portion, but abundance is. So practical steps, just begin to break those layers off of yourself and know that it is possible as an indie artist and it is achievable. There are so many things going on out here in today's world, and just know that there's opportunity to do a lot of things. So do things in purpose, do things of value, and know that it's possible for you. And I pray that this was helpful for you, and I'll see you in the next video.